Chapter 36. The bulky things went into the duffel bag first. Shoes, coat, sweaters, skirts. Then the flat things. Underwear, socks, pajamas, shirts. On top of these, smoothed out and folded into even thirds. The purple party dress, its velvet ribbon laid across the bodice in a soft loop. Finally, the odds and ends. Deck of cards, pen, comb and brush, toothbrush, sliver of soap wrapped in a waxed paper. The lilac blossom, dried now and powdery. The light pool. Quickly Maggie opened and shut the drawers of the dresser and of the little desk. They were all empty. Everything was empty. The closet was empty. The floor under the bed was empty. The window seat was empty. The sink was empty. The room was as bare as it had been the day when, 9 months earlier, she had first set foot in it. Barer. When she had first arrived, there had been layers of underwear in the dresser, a row of dresses on the closet pole, and on the window seat, a doll whose pretty rubber face she had pushed in with her thumb. She crossed over to the sink and looked at the mirror at the face that, in less than a day, the new family would see for the first time. What would she look like to them? White cheeks, damp hair, sharp chin, pale lips, skin and bones again. Maybe the new family wouldn't like her. Maybe they would send her somewhere else. "I'm going on a plane," she told the backwoods girls, who had just filed into the room and now stood around her bed. "A plane? What's a plane?" they all asked. A plane is this big special machine that you go inside and it flies in the air. Flies in the air? Ooh, how wonderful. Like a bird? Yes, but it's as big as a boat. And you go inside it and it takes you far away. Ooh, how wonderful. Can we go too? No, of course not. You're too dumb and poor. They wouldn't even let you on. But the backwoods girls would probably keep her company wherever she went, especially now. "Well, maybe," she said. "Maybe I can get you in." "Maggie!" Aunt Harriet called from downstairs. In a few minutes it would be time to leave for the train that would take her to the city with the airport. Aunt Harriet and Aunt Lillian were to drive her to the station, following the same route she and Uncle Morris had traveled the day she arrived, only this time in reverse, with the huge stone building that looked like a prison growing smaller and smaller behind her back, and the bare countryside filling gradually with stones and houses, stores and houses. She wondered if she would throw up again. There was still room in the top of the duffel bag for something else. She looked around the empty room and then stood without moving for a long moment. She could, if she wanted, take the dolls. Fly upstairs and grab Miss Christabel and Timothy John and Juniper and lay them on top of the soap and the toothbrush. Pull the cord tight around the neck of the duffel bag, covering their white china faces, and carry them all off to wherever she was going. She could set them up on the bed in her new room, far away, and whisper to them whenever she was alone. "Remember the roses, Miss Christabel?" she could say. "Mercy, yes," she would answer for Miss Christabel, and she would move Timothy John's head up and down as he remembered too. A stray sock was caught in the sheet at the foot of the bed, and she dropped it into the duffel bag. No, she wouldn't take the dolls. She would leave them just as they were, forever seated opposite each other at the table, each on the verge of speaking. with juniper between them, ready at any moment to sip from the saucer at his basket. She would take that scene with her, holding it in her mind as carefully as if it were balanced on a tea tray, and create from it a haunting dream. Someday, 50 years from now, 100, some other girl, some other right one, would arrive at Adelphi Hills and make her way reluctantly along the front walk to a building she would mistake for a prison. A small redhead would appear, or seem to appear, from some distant window, but she would remember it only later when, now in the parlor, now in the hall, faint scrapings, tiny whispers, stray words would nudge at her ear and make her pause over her book. In time there would be voices, a man's, a woman's, that only she could hear, and they would speak of fires and washtubs and of a dog. One day they would call her name. "Emma," they would cry, or "Rose, come, it is time." And she would fly through the halls, opening doors, shutting them, until she found at last the hidden panel in the closet leading to the attic stairs. Then carefully at first, stepping and pausing, she would pull herself up, stopping in front of the massive furniture and its white draperies, inching her way across the attic floor, shrinking at the sound from where? Of a shattering cup, reaching the wardrobe, stopping, listening, and bursting all at once on the startling scene of two china dolls at a tea table, turning their painted smiles at her and crying, she's here at last." Epilogue. The sunlight had left the backyard, and the single lawn chair lay in the shadows like the skeleton of some giant insect. The day was over. The purple dress, lifeless now, lay across the bed in the darkening room, and the dried lilac rested on the dresser like a curl of lavender dust. The anniversary had come and gone, and no one here had known about it. Soon Maggie would eat dinner with the two little sisters and their parents, her parents. After that, she would get ready for bed, and the day would have slipped by like every other. Back at Adelphi Hills, too, the anniversary would be drawing to a close. The patch of sun would already have gone from the garden, leaving the wicker chairs and the wallpaper roses in deepening shadow. And the faces in the dining room would have grown dim as well. "Will you always be our sister?" That was Edith, the older one. She always asked that. "Will you?" She ran her fingernail across the velvet ribbon, making pale rivers. "Yes, of course." "Always, always?" "Yes." "Even when you die?" "Yes, of course, but that's silly." Maggie made a little braid out of Edith's hair, not fastening it, watching the strands loosen and fall apart. "That's nice," said the little one, Clara. "That's nice that you'll be our sister always, and when you die," she began to sob aloud about Uncle Morris, as she always did. But Maggie, as she always did, said not to. "Don't cry," she said. "It's okay. It's okay that he died." But she didn't say why it was okay. To do so would be to tell about the other garden and the other room, and so she kept to herself for always the moments following Aunt Harriet's call from downstairs. "It's time to go," Maggie had said that last day to the backwoods girls, and she had knelt on the window seat for a final look at the garden. There was no motion at all outside, and the birch leaves hung like green icicles from their branches, and far to the left, the broken swing hung unmoving from its single rope. "Maggie!" Aunt Lillian called this time. "Okay," Maggie replied, not raising her voice. "Maggie!" "Okay," she shouted, "I'm coming!" Once more, Maggie! And suddenly she stood frozen at the window. And who was that who called? The voice had been loud and clear, but it wasn't that of Aunt Lillian or Aunt Harriet, and it came not from the front hall, but from the walls of her room. Maggie! Whatever is keeping you? The tea is getting cold! And the next moment she was out of the room and flying across the hall. It's them, it's them. And on the way she heard in some other voice, she never was one for getting places on time. I'm here, she cried breathlessly from the bottom of the attic stair. I'm here! From the top now, and in an instant she was rounding the wardrobe and in the doll room. I'm here! Timothy John was sitting in the armchair with the newspaper spread out on his knee. Miss Christabel was standing at the tea table, and Juniper, out of his basket, was lying at Timothy John's foot. Well, there you are, Maggie, Miss Christabel said before Maggie had a chance to speak another word. What kept you so long? We had so much to get ready, but someone very nicely took down the streamers from yesterday's party. Yesterday's party? Didn't they know the party had taken place weeks before? And swept up the crumbs, too, Timothy John remarked, without looking up from the newspaper. Oh, Miss Christabel, Maggie finally gasped. Timothy John! Juniper, you're back! What nonsense are you talking? Miss Christabel said. Come give me a hand with the tea. But I can't, Miss Christabel. I can't stay. I have to go. I'm leaving for good. I'm going to another place to live. But I'm so glad you're here and you're alive. And wherever I am, I'll always think of you here, having your tea and walking in the garden and reading the paper and doing all those things you always do. Oh, Miss Christabel and Timothy John and Juniper, you're alive. Mercy, Miss Christabel exclaimed. Is it time for you to leave already? Timothy John slipped the gold watch out of his pocket. It is exactly time, he said. 8:35. Everything always seems to happen at 8:35, so it isn't surprising that you should be leaving, Maggie. Maybe I can come back and visit sometime, Maggie said. Maybe someday I'll come back to Adelphi Hills and we can all have tea together just as we always did, the three of us and Juniper. 4, Timothy John corrected her. Maggie looked at him. 4 of us, he said. We are 3 up here now. He's come, you know. Who's come? Where? In the garden, Miss Christabel answered. Our newcomer, the other one. What other one? Maggie's head spun back and forth. Who? And her eyes swept across the room. There was an extra chair at the table, she now noticed, and strangely a third bed. Other things, too, seemed added, rearranged, and she let out a quick gasp as she caught sight of something else in the corner. A small round bowler, its crown looking as though it had just been brushed with the sleeve of a coat. Hanging on the clothes hook, and against the wall, a small walking stick, its silver knob shining like a perfect moon. The end.